Functions of poetry. What are functions of poetry? Look, when we say functions of poetry, what do we mean? It means that why do we read poetry? There must be some purpose. So let us look at point number 1. We read poetry to become wiser from the richness of imagination of others. This is the first point. Why do we read poetry? What is the function of poetry in our life? It means that we read poetry to become wiser from the richness of imagination of others. We read poetry to become more mature, more thoughtful person. We get a lot of ideas from the richness of imagination of others, from the thoughts of others, from the experiences of others, and we benefit a lot in many different ways, and all those experiences help us in our life. Point number 2. Poetry deepens our association towards beauty, love, sorrow, death and nature. Look here. If you read poetry, you will know what is beauty. You will develop a sort of friendship with beauty, a sort of association with beauty. You will have a special feeling for beauty. Beauty is not only about what we see, beauty is also about what we feel. So when you read poetry, you will come to know what is physical beauty and what is spiritual beauty. So reading poetry helps us develop association, develop friendship, not only with beauty, also about love, also about sorrow, also about death, also about nature, because poetry deals with all such subject matters in a very beautiful manner. So please read poetry and you will start appreciating what is beauty in life, what is love in life, what is sorrow, death and nature, and so on. So this is Aristotle says poetry is finer and more philosophical than history, for poetry expresses the universal and history only the particular. Look, according to Aristotle, a great philosopher, he says poetry is finer, means poetry is more beautiful and more philosophical than history. He compares between poetry and history, and he says that poetry is more beautiful, more philosophical, more thoughtful than history. And he goes on to add some more points. The next point is that for poetry expresses the universal. Poetry expresses a universal idea, universality of ideas. When I say universal, universal means present everywhere, accepted by every person. It has universal influence, global influence. Its experiences are relevant to everyone and in every condition. So poetry expresses the universal and history only the particular. History is about particular person, particular place and particular events. But poetry is not about particular event, not about particular person. It is about universal event. It is about an experience that is relevant to all people irrespective of where they live. This is according to Aristotle. Go on to the next. William Wordsworth. If you read the poetry of William Wordsworth, you will deepens in us the love for nature. You know William Wordsworth, a very famous poet. He is known as the prophet of nature. His entire poetry is based on nature. But when you read the poetry of William Wordsworth, you will begin to love the nature. When I say nature, what do you mean? The nature means that the sky, the clouds, the rain, the trees, the birds, there are a lot of things around us. All those things created by God could belong to nature. So when you read the poetry of William Wordsworth, you will start developing your appreciation, your love for nature. And this is one of the functions of poetry. Then go on to the next point. John Keats deepens in us the love for beauty. When you read the poetry of John Keats, you will start deepening your association, your friendship for beauty. You will know what beauty is all about. Beauty is not what we see. Beauty is also what we feel. So John Keats has written immensely about beauty, and when you read the poems of John Keats, you will start developing love for beauty. You will start developing feeling to appreciate beauty. Next, Lord Tennyson intensifies in us the need for spiritual values, not temporal values. So when you read the poetry of Lord Tennyson, you will have the feeling for spiritual values that will help you develop association with God and anything associated with God. So these are some of the points about functions of poetry. So please try to keep all these points in your mind, try to understand, and I hope you will enjoy reading poetry very much.